what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys know what it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Hey, everybody. We are into January, and, well, how about we start this other week of January off, but, let's get this year started off with some great podcasts, and this one is just, the most gassed up, holy shit, if you are having any troubles in life, this album, this artist, this music is going to hit you in such a deep way where you're going to wonder, how did this stuff ever actually keep me down? How did this stuff ever actually try and tear me down? This one is absolutely amazing for all of this. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor of the podcast, which is Phoenix Fitness. So, yes, we are into 2023. We are into the new year. And for a lot of us, there's a lot of New Year's resolutions going on out there. And one of the most popular ones, of course, is I want to be fit. I want to be in shape. And that is fantastic. Please keep that up. I look at it as I want to be mosh pit fit. Mosh fit. Ugh. Yeah, because you guys know me. I love going into mosh pits. I will not stop going into mosh pits. And when I go in them, I do not want to come out. I will make sure that I'm in there for the whole entire set. In order to do that, though, I hit the gym a lot. I am doing a lot of cardio, a lot of lifting to make sure that I am as fit as I can be and hitting my fitness goals so that I can be in those mosh pits any day of the week as much as possible. I also need to make sure that I'm preparing and recovering right with my body so that, I can do these things. And that's where Phoenix Fitness comes in with many different supplements to help you achieve those goals. They have different proteins for you to take after work, or protein powders like whey protein, collagen protein, plant-based protein. I use the whey protein because, well, that's what I like to use. They also have different pre-workouts, both stim and stim-free. I use the stim-free stuff because I got more than enough energy as it is. I don't need any more. And the stim-free stuff, it does me real well. They also have BCAA recovery compounds for directly after workout, creatine help you build muscle, multivitamins, literally anything you might need to achieve your fitness goals, Phoenix Fitness has for you. So our listeners get 20% use the code CPP20 at fnxfit.com. Link description of the podcast. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Now on to this podcast. This one, you might want to listen to 2 or 3 times because when we go into it with this artist, her name is Zahna. She has a brand new album, Stronger Than Death, coming out on February 10th, 2023. And over the past 4 years, she has gone through an incredible amount, from trials and tribulations in her marriage, kidney transplants, almost dying, COVID-19, the pandemic, the shutdown of the music industry, what she's gone through in the past being a woman in the music industry. There is so much that has tried to take her down. But she talks about how she has gotten through all of that to continue to live life to the fullest, be as happy as possible with her husband by her side, and just the fact that, death is going to try and come for you, but you can be stronger than it. That's where this conversation goes, and it is absolutely insane. So please welcome Zahna to the podcast. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. I have to thank our friend Cody Frayne from Ascent Like Wolves, the difference between, once again, because this guy keeps sending me so many great bands and artists. This one is a little bit out of my realm. Sure, there's a mix of hard rock and modern metal in this artist's music. However, there's something a little bit different there. I'm like, oh, this is a little different. However, more than willing to talk about it because you know me. All these conversations end up turning into something absolutely incredible, amazing, enlightening, whatever it might be, and we're here for it. This artist's new single, Die For Something. I already messed it up. Oh, God. Okay. Die For Something is available now, and her new album, Stranger Than Death, is coming out on February 10th, 2023, so get ready for it, but get ready for it with this podcast. So please welcome Zahna to the Chord Progression Podcast. So Zahna, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Zahna. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to have you on the podcast. How has everything been going in your world right now, especially as, 2022, that's pretty much in the past. 2023, new album, new song in the future. How's everything been going on your end?
Oh my gosh, it doesn't even feel real, honestly. This album has if I'm being honest, I'm already over it because I finished it a long time ago and it's just getting out. I'm not over it. That's a lie. But it's I finished writing this album in 2020 and it over just BS and, pandemic and my producer being on tour, it took a long time to get these tracks out. So, and then, you need a lot of marketing money. So it's just been a huge buildup, man. I feel like I've been in labor forever and the baby's coming. It's finally coming out. So Yeah, and it's stronger than death, not stranger than death. Like I didn't want to
Stronger than death. Oh my god. Okay. I mess up the song title. I have it written down here, Stronger Than Death, but I had it italicized, so for some reason I put the O as an A in my brain. This is a Gatorade, but I should have had a V8.
Oh, should have had a V8. No, it's all good, man. No, but yeah, that's coming out, and yeah, it just doesn't feel real. Honestly, I'm like numb. I'm scared to like be happy because I'm like, what if something happens and it doesn't happen? I don't know. I'm thinking the worst all the time.
But honestly, a lot of people, a lot of artists end up doing that as well. You know, you've worked so long and so hard on anything new, whether it's a brand new song, brand new album, and yourself, you have gone over it so many different times and you've heard so many different iterations of these songs. You've made so many different tweaks. And because you've heard it so many times and you know the feeling of it, it's kind of like you become desensitized to how incredible some of these songs actually are. And when you put them out in the world, or right before you put them out in the world, it's like, is this even good? Because you're so used to it, you don't remember what it was like when you first felt it and you first heard it. So when it goes out in the world, people are going to first hear it and they're going to get that experience. And then that's really where you're going to end up finding out, you know, was this my best effort? Was it not my best effort? Hopefully it's the former rather than the latter, but yeah, hopefully it's the best effort. We'll put it that way, because all I've heard so far is Die for Something, and I haven't heard the rest of the album, but if it's like Die for Something, woo!
Yeah, Die for Something is a little different. It's I don't know. I feel like we had a good variety. My producer is Kellen McGregor. He plays in Memphis Mayfire, but he, you know, I have roots in metal, and so my last album I did some screaming. I honestly miss the screaming a lot, but you know, Kellen is an amazing producer. He's very talented, so he really kind of wanted to turn it in like more active rock, mainstream rock, and I'm okay because I love Avril Lavigne. She's mainstream rock. She started like that, and she's one of the best songwriters I've ever known or heard of, in my opinion. So essentially, Die for Something has more like, it's weird. It has like electronic and dance vibes in it, like genre dance, you know, and you got that in the verses. And I remember like being a little girl and I loved to dance so much. And I heard like, you know, a techno music when I was like 8, and I loved it. And so I kind of forgot about that love because I loved rock even more, and then just like to see it combined as like a little kid's dream kind of happening. So yeah.
It's like the Frankenstein monster of your little kid's dream coming together in one song, and then it's alive, it's alive.
Yeah, no, it was cool though. Kellen, you know, we ended up doing like a dark pop song for the record, and then we have like really rock, like heavy rock stuff too, radio rock. I love it all, man. So yeah, it's great.
See, now I'm more interested to hear how some of this stuff comes out when it does come out, specifically with you working with Kellen from Memphis Mayfire, because myself, I do really enjoy Memphis Mayfire. I've seen him a couple of times live this year. You know, I see that pit open up, I'm like, ooh, or I'm the one that opens it up, and their new album from 2022, Remade in Misery, I mean, just consistent across the board with good songs every step of the way. So kind of riding that wave of consistently good songwriting, consistently good producing. I'm really, really, really hopeful and really, really, really positive that kind of flow and that energy is going to bleed over into Stronger Than Death and just really come full fruition to, you know, Die for Something, where you have rock and metal infused with more of that like hip hop kind of pop dance kind of stuff in there. You said a dark pop song and then some more just hard hitting hard rock and metal tracks. Like, we could get something that's dynamically consistent here.
Yeah, and actually, so I'm assuming you saw the music video, right? Because that's actually 2 songs in one. So there's an interlude that we wrote called Reaper, and that's what you're seeing in the very beginning for about 2 minutes or so. And then like around minute 2, that's when the actual song starts. So that was cool. That kind of happened on accident. So for Die for Something, it was actually my co-producer who wrote that, Josiah Prince. He plays in Disciple, a band that I love, and he wrote that song with me. But Kellen mixed it. However, I think Josiah co-produced 4 tracks on this album, and Kellen did the others. Yeah, it's 11 tracks, so he did like 7. Did I do that right? Is that right? 7. I'm nervous. I can't math. I'm sorry. Anyway, I hope I'm right. I hate math so much. do it all day long. I'm sorry. I'm blushing. Essentially, yeah, Josiah did a nice handful of the tracks, and it was really cool because when we co-wrote Die for Something, I didn't really know what to expect. I never co-written with Josiah before, but he was really putting out some great work at the time. So I was like, I got to do it. I got to get some with him. So we, we're kind of, the first time we met, we were going over like pieces, because when you're songwriting, you don't want to write full-fledged songs. You just want to have ideas to start with so that you can vibe with whoever, they give them a chance to make it better instead of writing out a whole song. So we got together, and he knew my story. I don't know if a lot of people know, but I had a kidney transplant in 2019, and I really had like a lot of life realizations, and I almost died a couple times. So that's really why that album is called Stronger Than Death. And Die for Something was just a huge pivotal point in like my journey to like continue to press on despite all the medical garbage that was happening to me, and all the psychological just torment of it all. But so he had this chorus that is the chorus of Die for Something already written. And he goes like, you know what, I was going to give this to my own band to work with and write. But, knowing your story, and like at that time, like was the pandemic when we started writing, and I had just not even a year had my new kidney. So like I was going through double health crisis back to back, because after a kidney transplant, like you really don't have an immune system. So you could get very sick and die, like if you don't watch out. So here I am just freshly off a kidney transplant, and then like everyone's dying now too. And I'm like, bro, I can't do this again. Like I'm not going to go to the hospital again. It was very tormenting for me because I have like this huge needle phobia. Anyway, like, yeah, so he knew all the garbage I'd been through. I'd been hospitalized so many times, and he's like, this chorus, I really think that maybe you could add to it and it could be yours because of all you've been through. And so I was like, yes, just immediately. Yes. Immediately. I heard it, soaring chorus, and it was really huge, and lyrics were convicting. So he started with that chorus, and I went ahead and just filled all the verses lyrically and melodically. And it was a great match, man. So it's something I'm really proud of. And the feature on it, Nezdem, is actually my husband. So we finally got on a track together, and it was just awesome. People were into it. It was cool.
I had a feeling that Nezdem being featured on the track, I'm like, that for some reason, just also taking a look at like just what Cody had sent me with like, okay, here's like a little bit of background on Zahna, and seeing that you collaborate a lot with your husband, all of a sudden I'm like, wait, Nezdem, is that just like the last name backwards? And then it just like clicked in my head, like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. Like, yeah, I feel like everybody knew, but then I realized like there's new fans and they don't know coming in. So yeah, that's him. Yeah, he's actually right there. He's my drummer too. So we're just on team together, separate artists, but partners, business partners, and lovers, I guess.
Separate artists, but business partners and lovers.
I
feel like that could be like some weird Netflix show, like just as a tagline for it.
Creepy, right?
Hey, they'll put anything on Netflix these days. You never know. But just thinking about that too, where this soaring chorus with the ideas behind it was written, kind of by somebody else for a different band. All of a sudden, collaborating with you, just everything you had gone through with that kidney transplant, of course, then going into COVID as well, and your whole entire idea of, I am not going through this shit again, especially with everything that happened previously. Just the soaring chorus, it adds so much more to your story, and it adds much more of a personal touch where, yeah, it was maybe written by somebody else as that chorus piece, but because it relates so much more to what you've been through emotionally, it relates so much more to that story by you coming with it and putting your own twist on it, putting all the instrumentals behind it and putting your own force into it, it comes across so much more strongly than it would than maybe anybody else singing it.
That's why he gave it to me. He's like, now to think about it. He gave me a couple ideas, but this one obviously stuck out a lot. And then the other couple songs we ended up doing like some of my ideas. So yeah, it was like, I don't know, man. Like it's really just everything I write is kind of just based off my life and my personal experiences. And honestly, that song I had to draw really from the point where like I had to decide what I was going to do, because when you have a genetic disease like me, you didn't do anything, it's not your fault, but like you're so out of control. Like there's no solution to kidney failure. Like we have a treatment for it, but you never really get better. Even with a transplant, like it's a give and take because you can still get really sick. Like you're way more highly susceptible to cancer. I take medication. I take like 15 pills a day. Like for the rest of my life, I'm gonna have to do that. So you're basically just on borrowed time all the time. And I think Die for Something was really just a point in my life where I was like, look, dude, even without a kidney transplant, like I can't control, I could die today. I could die tomorrow on a freak accident. And like we have this illusion of life and control when in reality, nobody can determine whether they live tomorrow or not. We just don't know. And so, like, as long as we live our life with purpose, that's really what it's about. Die for something. You know, you're going to die one day, but like at least make your life like go out with a bang, bro. Like, that's how I see it. So yeah, it was a lot to overcome, but I mean, this album is pretty much a testament to everything I've survived. So it's very emotional to talk about sometimes.
Yeah, but like when we hear you talk about it in that emotional state, it comes across just much more powerful and to a point where we hear what you went through and then we listen to the song and we understand, the emotions that you went through, the trials, the tribulations. Sure, we may have not gone through anything nearly as severe or nearly as large as you did. However, we're able to really take a look at ourselves, see like the trials and tribulations that we've gone through and see how much further we are beyond them. Because when I wanted to Die for Something for myself, like always if I'm going to go into a song, I'm going to go in deep and I'm going to try and figure out everything I could. And seeing a little bit about your story as well, I'm like, okay, always keep that a little bit in mind. But when I went through Die for Something, like I went in deep and I kind of pulled out as I think it's kind of all about discovering that motivation in life overall. And how if you don't have something in your life that's so much as actually is like worth dying for, then life will kind of come to a swift end in a way. We have heard plenty of stories of people that just give up and not much longer. They kind of just die because their motivation and purpose in life is completely gone. When that motivation and that passion is gone, there's not much we can do in life. So kind of like someone's going to come find us or the Grim Reaper is going to find us and kind of take us with them. And I kind of go back and I think about how like I was in 2017, I was, I always thought life at the beginning was like that Cards Against Humanity card that was like, go to college, go to get a job, get married, have kids, buy some shit, retire, move to Florida and die. Like, and after 6 months, I'm like, this is terrible. Like, this is the worst thing ever. But then I also think about what happened last year when my grandfather got COVID and it's like, he could have beat it and he could have gone on, but he was 93 years old. My grandma had been gone for over almost 9 years at that point. He was ready to be checked out. But in 2016, he had a pretty big stroke and somehow pulled it through because his favorite team, the Chicago Cubs, were going to the World Series and he was not going to miss out on that shit. So always take a look at how that is just kind of like how if you have something that is really motivating your life, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's for me, it's like music is an insane motivator. Happiness is an insane motivator. Just living life to the fullest. And for you as well, just kind of like seeing everything you've gone through. It's like, yeah, maybe you're living on borrowed time. Maybe you are. But taking life to the fullest and enjoying every step of the way from your musical journey, from the time you're able to spend with your husband, with your family and everything. It motivates us so we find that great thing in life that we can keep going on and we can show everyone else that we can continue to live life to the fullest no matter what we've gone through.
I think that's a really good perspective. I've never heard of it like that because to me, I'm like, no, this is very literal for me. Okay, like I'm going to die, like maybe sooner than all of you. So, and to me, you're spot on with some of that. Like sometimes it doesn't even have to be that deep, but like find what you love and let it kill you. Kind of like find that passion. So yeah, I'm on board with that totally, man. I think that's a really cool perspective.
Yeah, because we only get one shot at life. Why try and play it super duper safe? It's like, it's like if you get one swing at life, are you going to try and go for a bunt single? Fuck no, you're going to try and hit a goddamn home run on this. So why not do that with life? Because I always look at it this way as well. I look at it this way as well. If I get to that point where I'm like 90 years old and I am sitting in a chair watching Robot Pat Sajak on Wheel of Fortune, I want to be looking back at life and thinking about the things that I did, the times that I had, the relationships and the friendships that I was able to have, enjoy. I don't want to be thinking about the things I wish I would have done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I'm more of a safe person. I'm more conservative, and my husband's like kind of like really inspires me to like take gambles and risks and like believe more, that there's always more and reach higher. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. I like have a lot of self-doubt sometimes. So yeah, you're right. I'm actually trying to practice that. Like just gamble on yourself. Like you can do it. You can go the distance. You can be this artist. You can do anything you want to do. You don't need a label. You don't need this stuff. Just do it. You know, and I think that's true because so many bands are just like, well, we're waiting for a label to pick us up. I'm not. I'm not. Okay. I know what it's like to be on a label. It's not that great. It really isn't. And it's nothing that you can build wealth upon. Okay. And I know people who are in huge labels and their bands are getting broken right now and they have like $10 in their bank account. Like, you know, you can't be married and do that. Like if you can't have a spouse or plan to have kids one day doing that, you know, you have to like make your own way and not keep leaning on these corporations or whoever to make the way for you, because it's not sustainable. That model isn't for independent wealth. It's like, I love Jay-Z's story because like nobody picked him up. No record labels picked him up. He's like, I'm just going to make a record label. I'm going to gamble on myself instead of these labels. And now he's like one of the richest men ever in the entertainment industry. So it's like, and now people respect him. And it's like so sad because how many people do we just dismiss because they're not doing big stuff right now? You know, it's like, and they're really talented.
I mean, we miss out on way too many people because of that simple fact. And using Jay-Z as an example is perfect just because, you know, again, starting from literally, you know, no one wanted to take a chance on him and said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. And now when you think of Jay-Z, I mean, you think of hip hop royalty. You think of him and Beyonce as like the ultimate power couple in anything in music, which makes sense. But what you say is absolutely like stands out and is absolutely correct to the point where when it came, like the first thing you said, you know, your husband is always like the one that's kind of like pushing, like, keep going, let's do this. And you're like, I'm not sure about this. But you need that person in your corner that's going to constantly push you because we all have different things that come into our lives, whether it's doubt, whether it's fear. But if we have that other person, that other external motivator that's just like, nah, keep going, keep doing this, keep trying. You never know how like big something can get and how successful you can become without that little bit of a push forward.
Yeah, and I love that because like my whole life I would like be, if we met when we were kids, we would have hated each other, me and my husband, because I was the goody two shoes rule follower, but I was smart, man, and I was like socially popular. Like I knew how to get people on my team. But if I got called to the principal's office 2 times in my whole school career, and they didn't know what to do with me because I was crying too hard. I was so afraid of authority. I was so scared of getting in trouble. And I was a little meanie, dude, to other girls. And I used leverage, but when it came to getting in trouble by adults, I crumbled. And my husband, like when he was a kid, he was like the little kid tapping on the desk, kept getting sent to ISS. He wouldn't care. He would try to get himself sent. He loved to challenge authority. And I'm like, I need you in my life because before I met you, my entire career was based off the approval of people in authority positions and these business bigwigs, you know, and I literally measured my success, my personal worth on my success with them. And he's like, why are you doing that? You don't need any of these people. And he gasses me up, dude. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm a strong woman. Like, I don't need their approval. And it's freeing. It's extremely freeing, especially because unfortunately there's still a lot of sexism in the music industry. And if you have a beautiful young woman who's an artist and wants to make you money, they start getting involved in her personal life. Who are you dating? What are you eating? Are you working out enough to be sexy enough to front our band? Like that happened to me, you know, in my previous band. They didn't like that I would date certain guys. And when my husband came along, he was too much of a threat and they saw they couldn't control me anymore. And I started waking up and I was like, yo, why do I have to look better, be the best in my craft, and work out and be super skinny and beautiful all the time, and I'm not getting paid. I'm not getting paid at all. I'm not getting paid more than anyone. I don't have an ownership of anything, so I'm just being used to be your face. And what do I get for it? Nothing. So like that's me, and I thought that was just okay. And I would have spent my whole life there probably, and you know, my career would have died eventually until I had someone pull me out and be like, stop doing this, stop working for free and having to be better than everybody, but you get no reward from it. So it's like, I don't know. I just see like there's so many countless musician women who are just like, yeah, I was controlled in every aspect because I had to make these people money. And it was very apparent how disposable I was. And they don't care about you. They care about their bottom line and your submission to them. So I don't know, man. I don't know. As you grow up and you're in this thing for like almost 10 years, like I'm going on, I'm just like, I don't care anymore what anyone says. I'm just going to do my thing.
And your husband being the perfect like pusher and motivator towards that. It's like the yin and the yang line up perfectly. And thankfully that happened to the point where you were able to get out of that like kind of structured path for female artists, and we're able to, instead of looking at, you know, kind of the approval from authority, approval from all like labels, trying to get that approval from other people around you, all you cared about at that point was just the approval that you were going to give yourself at that, and find the happiness within you so that you could continue to go forward and just live life to the fullest. And the biggest unfortunate thing outside of that is how many other female artists, female from anybody, any female in rock or anything in the music industry that has been cut down and has had that motivation and that fire and that passion extinguished because maybe it was a label, maybe it was a promoter, maybe it was the rest of the band, just completely more focused in on the presentation and the bottom line than an actual human being that was right in front of them.
Oh my God, I know almost every single woman in the music industry I know of goes through that. They are controlled in some way, okay? Like, and some of them have quit and will never return again. Like, I unfortunately know a lot because I was very public with what happened in my situation when it happened and our band broke up. I got a lot of inboxes and messages from women who this had happened to them, and spirits just completely broken. Like, they could never even do music ever again because they were just so, like, they felt like they were in a cult, like, for however long that band was. And it's just so unfortunate. I want to give certain men the benefit of the doubt and be like, did you know you were doing this to her? Or like, do you just, I don't know. I hope that you were blind, because you couldn't live with yourself if you knew what the damage you did to me, you know? And how you broke me down. Like, it's so terrifying. I'm like, you know, I want to trust certain men in the industry, and there are many good ones. I don't want to just throw all men in the trash, you know, that are in the music industry. There are so many good men there. And God, I hope they just succeed so they can just start pushing bad men out of power, you know? And so I really hope to see that. But, you know, all you can do, I'm surprised I survived, honestly. I worked my tail off for 4 years to the point where, like, into depression. That's how much I had to work to be an independent artist and do this on the scale I wanted to. And it's still growing and I still have bad days, but like, this album means so much to me because it's I've gone through so much on the altar of suffering to make this happen that, like, even if I wanted to quit, I wouldn't let myself, because at least I have something to show for all this garbage from the last 4 years of my life, you know? So I have a lot to say about it. So I'm glad these songs are coming out.
Oh, I mean, say it as much as you can. Say it as much as you want, just because I've had multiple guests on the podcast as well in the past, and we have specifically came on to talk about certain issues like this. It has been something that's been really, really strong, and like something that they really want to talk about. And I'm all for it, because when it comes down to it, the more we have female artists like being the focus in on, like, okay, things are not going very well in certain areas because they're looked at more as commodities instead of actual artists or actual people. You know what? That's a major issue, because how many of these new voices, how many of these new sounds, how many of these new ideas are we completely just restricting and choking out and just removing from the music industry because there's other people that are more focused in on, again, the presentation, the more focusing on the visual aspect of it and pleasing the aesthetic of certain fans than actually letting the artists grow and do their thing. Because what we have seen in the past, and this is for any artist, when we let these artists just go on, grow, be creative, and do their own thing, fantastic things happen, and these artists grow in ways you never thought they would. And my two prime examples of that, one being Bring Me the Horizon, where who would have thought that from Count Your Blessings, that band would become the biggest band in the world? Or who would have thought Bad Omens, from when their first album to Death of Peace of Mind, who would have thought they would have sold out a whole tour nationwide tour before it even started in 2022. No one would have thought that, but you let the artists do their thing, you let them flow, and you focus in on how am I gonna, as a not as a musician, but as a label, as a promoter, as a manager, how can I take what this artist is giving me and make the most of it? Not what can I do to make sure that I can change this artist so it's the easiest for me. Let the artist be the artist, and you work with that. That is your freaking job, man.
No, man, and I was watching a video today. Everything you said is on point. But I was watching a video today about Ed Sheeran. I wasn't very familiar with how he came up, and he had been rejected by 9 different labels at that point. And his big first hit, a label executive was like, "That's not a hit," and he was like, "Okay," and then he tries one more time, gets on that last label, and then that song that was rejected was the hit that made him blow up. So it's I just laugh. I just laugh when artists let these type of people dictate their lives. You realize that person doesn't know everything, right? And you bet on yourself, man. And I'm not saying don't ever improve yourself. Of course, take criticism, but invest in yourself, invest in vocal lessons, invest in, stop buying useless garbage and put it towards a better producer. That's what I'm talking about. Bet on yourself. And start a business. That's the only way to really accumulate true wealth in the music industry is own your stuff. If you can do it without a label, do it. I mean, half the time all you need is just a business loan from a bank. Just do it. And I was really scared being independent. I think I knew I'd be okay, but I never thought I'd get to I hope to get to this level and be yeah, my fans are paying my bills because they love my music and I'm making it worth it for them. I'm not just collecting. I have a Patreon. I work hard for that. I write tons of handwritten lyric sheets. I take all my evenings to Zoom and Skype them and talk to them and build relationships. And that is my purpose. I'm here to put art out and people resonate and they like it and they support you. They will support you. So yeah, I mean, it's just, you just have so much noise from these people that think they know everything. And it's you don't know everything. Yeah, because no one would have bet on me. I bet when I was 15 and trying to sing, I'm sure no one would have. I got so many no's, I got so many closed doors, and I just couldn't stop though. And here we are, and we're still getting better. So yeah, it's all we can do.
I think the most important thing you said in there was not only when it came to okay, people that are working at these labels that you might be trying to get if you're getting rejected, oh, it's not a hit, it's not a hit. They don't know everything. I mean, this isn't the 1960s or 1970s anymore where the only way you're going to get your music out there, distributed and heard amongst the masses is if you have the full support from a label. Because how many great bands from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the 2000s did we miss out on because the labels and the distribution we just don't want to do anything with them because they didn't know what to do with them, or they didn't think that certain things were a hit when all of a sudden, that might have been the biggest hit in the freaking world. Look at Ed Sheeran for the perfect example of that. I mean, definitely understand that you have to take constructive criticism because that is how you get better, but also understand that especially when it comes to those mass, the people you're always looking up to, they don't know everything. That could be in music. That could be in business. That could be, your friends, anybody. Especially, I'll even use business as well. If you're working for a company, the CFO, CEOs, all those, they don't know everything. They might think, how many times do they put up, oh, it's going to be a great idea. We're going to do this. It's going to be a great thing. It's going to take the company to the next stratosphere level. And then that's the thing that absolutely ruins the company.
Yeah, they all say that, dude. Every movie's supposed to be a smash hit for a studio. If not, why would they make the movie? So it's I don't know. I'm so ashamed that I used to really take people's opinions that much and just wait on them. And I think I had to get hurt the way I did for me to just kind of wake up. And it's the most successful people are not the people that were good in school. Okay. Those people just know how to conform. Honestly, they're very good at conforming and playing the part, but that's not what makes you wealthy in this country. What makes you wealthy is a little bit of rebellion and a little bit of no and a lot of smarts, but not in a book classroom setting. It's just financial wisdom, financial savvy, or credit scores. I'm a voice teacher and an artist consultant, and I had to teach people how to use a budgeting tool so they can pay for their albums, and they don't understand, Like, why isn't that taught in school? They don't want you to know because then you're going to get smarter and then you're going to beat them, you know? Maybe it's not that like bad. Like maybe they're not that evil, but sometimes I wonder, like, why aren't you educating people on interest rates and credit scores and like how to do taxes? Because and write-offs, all the write-offs you can do because you want them to just be good little kids and work your 9 to 5 and shut up and go home and here's your benefit and paid time off while I'm rich, you know? So yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, you're speaking to the choir right there. Keep preaching, mostly because I look at it the same way as well, where I remember back when I was in school too, where, I mean, I ended up getting good grades, but at a certain point in time, all of a sudden it's the things that, you know, it was like being forced down your throat. It's like, okay, science. Yeah, I get science is important, but it wasn't anything that was super interesting to me. And so when I went to college, I ended up majoring in economics. That was my thing. So when it came to learning about a lot of these things, it was something that was more interesting to me. And all of a sudden, you know, trying to start a podcast, especially going through the pandemic, how am I going to make money through this? How am I going to continue to be able to survive and like, you know, potentially prosper through this and not have to worry about as much money as possible? Okay, here, I know what I need to do when it comes to investing. I know what I need to do when it comes to getting loan. Credit score. If I need to get a freaking loan, I still remember this. Coming out of college, okay, now I have to like actually buy a car, you know, because the one I had, I got it wrecked. So buying my first actual car that's going to be fully mine, I had more than enough money to actually pay it off fully. But I paid half of it, and I put half of it on like, you know, just like as an installment. Yeah, as a loan, as a payment plan. And the reason I did that was because, yeah, I could have had all the money. I had a great credit score, but I had nothing to back it up. Now all of a sudden, I have a $5,000 loan for 4 years that I've ended up paying off in 10 months.
Uh-huh.
Hell,
yeah,
there's a lot behind that credit score now, and it's still healthy to this day. And how important is that when it comes to me potentially, you know, if I need to get a business loan to maybe take the podcast to a whole different level, when it comes to potentially buying a house, interest rates, knowing that right now with all these interest rates continue to increase, I know now is not the time to get a loan or to buy a freaking house.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I don't know. There's just, I understand people that like, it is scary. Like I started Zahna with a $10,000 loan. My dad got for me in his name, but I just, you know, paid him for it. And I don't know. I think I had just so much rage in me because of everything that had happened. I was like, I'm going to get him back. I'm going to make my own bit, you know? And I think I needed that courage, that rage-filled courage, because I don't know if I would have done it. Because to me back then, that was a lot of money, you know? So it's just like, but my dad was he had raised me, like he let me get a job when I was 15 years old, as soon as I could work. So I could buy a mixer and a PA system for my high school band to like start, you know? And he's like, okay, all you're going to pay is $150 a month. Okay. Can you do it? You have a job, right? I'm like, yes. And he would drive me from school to my job every Tuesdays and Thursdays. He was just so supportive in that way. Like he didn't give it to me, but he gave me the tools to do it myself. So I'm really grateful for those lessons. And I really want to instill that in my children if I have some someday. Because then you just teach your child courage, you know, and that's how they really succeed. Not just by like getting a job they end up hating and doing that American dream that really is, that is slavery. It is. So, you know, how do you be friends with it for a couple of years and then make it work for your advantage by, you know, building a business? So yeah, I'm super pro artist do it yourself until they give you an offer you can't refuse. You know, then that's up to you. But everyone starts in a different place. I'm definitely not where I want to be yet. I really want to grow more. So this album will just kind of see what it does and go from there.
I think one of the major things you just put in there too that I think anyone can take away was, you know, when it comes to, not everyone's going to have the support that you had, especially with your dad in that aspect. I mean, I had support from my parents as well, but not everyone's going to have certain support like that. So what I kind of look at it too is, if you don't have that support and you got to figure out a way, find small little ways where you can put yourself in positions to learn about this stuff, to grow from it. I look at this, when I went off to college, I went like 5.5 hours away to a point where it wasn't too far away where if emergency happened at home, I could get home. But it was far enough away where I knew nobody, and I knew that I couldn't just run home whenever if I felt uncomfortable. So I put myself in a position where I knew no one. I couldn't just run home and be comfortable. I had to make it work somehow. And it wasn't easy, but I look at that, I'm like, damn, that really helped out in the long run. Holy shit, was that important? Because now when it comes to connecting with people, talking to people, putting myself in positions where I'm like, oh, this might be a little awkward, or going, like, deciding to go to shows by myself all the time. Oh, this might be a little awkward. I don't know about this. Fuck it, I don't care. I'm going there. I'm gonna have a good time. I know what I need to do to have fun, but also know what I need to do to make sure I can get to the venue safe, I can get out of there safe, and I can get home in one piece. Like, there's so much going on there. And when it comes to financial aspect, when it comes to being in a band as well, you might have to put yourself in some of those situations where it's like, you're going to have to learn from them, but you're going to end up learning from them because experience is the mother of all learning.
Yeah, totally. And it's like Jordan Peterson says, like, when you grow is when you're on the brink of chaos and security. Like, you push yourself a little bit beyond the bounds of security and experience chaos in a relatively safe way. And that's how we grow, and that's where we experience fun things. It's like, it's fun because we don't know what's going to happen, you know? So I think it's great. And yeah, like, my sister, she's traveled a lot, and she's a huge advocate. She's like, go travel alone. Don't let people think that it's all unsafe. Like, you have to learn about this world. So she's really inspired me a lot. And I've just done things I don't think I've ever would have done without her influence and inspiring me. So I'm very grateful to have a family that I do.
So we can find those inspirations literally anywhere. They come from as close to you, from family, they come from your friends. Hell, they can come from people like us. And when it comes to, you know, Stronger Than Death, a lot of everything that's happened those past 4 years, honestly, everything that's happened to you in the past 15 years, all rolled into one thing and put out here. And now when it comes to those insecurities, when it comes to those fears, when it comes to the trials and tribulations you've gone through in life, not only with the things going on with your kidneys, with the kidney transplant, with COVID, but the things going on with the previous band that you were in, going solo, the fear behind there, the uncertainty behind it, and all this shit you had to go through in the music industry as a woman, everything is kind of getting compiled in here. Is like, you guys tried to kill me so many times in this. You tried to kill the passion in this, tried to kill the drive, tried to kill the fire that was inside me. You didn't.
Absolutely. That's literally why it's called that. I mean, like, physically, but like death, yes, physically, it's a very physical, real reality. But like, I in the album, I explore a little bit more of like death of other things, like death of dreams, like death of a relationship. Like, when me and my husband were first married, like, we had a health crisis. Like, I think I had my transplant about 8 months after we were married already. Yeah. And like, I was really sick, like, before, like, the insurance won't let you get the transplant until like you're gonna die soon. It's really messed up. They're like, we know this is inevitable, but you have to suffer, okay, so we can pay for it and feel okay about it. So our we had about really good 3 months when we got married. First great 3 honeymoon marriage months, and then reality sets in, and I'm really sick, and he's in a different band at that point, and he's on tour, and I'm missing him like crazy, and I have so much torment about the upcoming transplant. I'm like, what if I die, you know? And like, it really strained our relationship a lot. So like, in the album, there's a song called Promise You're Coming Home, and which is also followed by a sequel song right after it called I'm Sorry. And really, it's about exploring like the death of a relationship, like things, external things influencing this love that you thought was the most secure. And like, how does the death of a relationship get salvaged? How do you go about that? When both individuals are dying inside, not because each other, but external things that are just eroding their purpose and their will to live. So I'm really, we talked about that, like, how transparent are we going to be about our personal problems in music? And we just decided, like, you know what, we are going to be always transparent no matter what, because we owe that to fans that support us, like, that want to know. I feel like I've kind of made this pact with God, and I was like, whatever happens in my life, I'm going to talk about it, and whatever you do in my life, I'm going to talk about it. I'm 100% honest. So maybe I don't owe it to people, but I want to, because I want them to know what I survived. And to me, some of our problems seemed like so unovercomable. I was like, bro, I guess we just made a mistake. I guess, like, I don't know, we love each other, but like, maybe this just isn't meant to be. Really scary thoughts, but like, when you're pushed to the brink of despair, the world is a mess. You lost both of your jobs. Like, I had just bought our new tour van right in February of 2020, right before touring shut everything down. Like I had $600 a month insurance. We were in a tiny apartment. We lost our jobs. We had just invested all this money into touring. The pandemic hits. I'm still going to the hospital because I'm so sick. I might die. Like really, really hard things that like you really wish upon no one. And then you have the beast of the music industry to deal with. And then you lose your record label that year and you have no idea how you're going to make it. You have all this credit card debt because you believe that you were going to do something and now it's gone. Like really tormenting problems that you're like, dude, I wish I would have died because I can't handle this. I don't see a way out of any of this. And then you're fighting with your spouse and this isn't how anything was supposed to be. So I talk about that in the song Erase in my album, like just a lot of like things that I really couldn't find a way to overcome. And I was losing like hope in everything. So, you know, obviously we're still together and we overcame a lot and things that we're still working at everything. Like I hate it when people are like, yo, they're so perfect for each other. I'm like, no one is perfect for each other. Your spouse is never going to fulfill you. Only God can do that. But I'm so grateful for my husband and everything he is to me. And I talk about that and I'm sorry. In the bridge, it says, I was convinced I was doing the right thing, building up walls, looking only out for me. But if I lost you, I'd lose everything. Like at the time, I was like, I don't need this. I don't need you. I don't, you know, and I was so wrong because I truly believe that if we would have gotten divorced, I would have been a shell of a person. Like, I don't think I would have ever recovered from us breaking up. Because it was my dream to get married. And my husband is the only guy I ever had peace about that I dated. I had dated other guys and I was just like, there's just something not right. I don't know why. I have this anxiety that they're not the right guy. And my husband was the first guy that like, when I really got to know him, I was like, I don't have that with you. And so I was like, what does that say about me and my decision-making and my, if we break up, I won't believe in anything anymore. You know, I'll be a very broken person. So we obviously stuck it through and it took a long time and we just work every day, work at it, better, be better to each other. And we're in a really good place now. And a lot of things have changed for the better. And we have a beautiful little townhome we live in, just he and I and 2 cats, and we're living our dreams. So it was worth it. So I bring that up to say that like, love is stronger than death. Like that's the whole point of the album. Love is stronger than death. You know, my mom was my kidney donor, and her love saved me. It literally saved my life. She gave me life 2 times, you know, like not a lot of people can say their mom gave them life twice. So the whole theme of the album is like, love is stronger than death. Love is going to save you when there's no other way, when you can't find another way. It's going to swoop in and just save you. And it's nothing that you could have done because you were going to die. Okay. You had no option. You were going to die. And by the grace of God, you live another day. This album is just so big to me. Like, I got to tell everybody about it.
All right, first off, before I go into this, holy shit, and I'm about to tee off on this in the most gassed up way I possibly can. Just give me a drink first so that I can actually accurately do this. So.
I'm blushing. I just like word vomited. Like, why do I do this?
Alrighty, so in the most gassed up way that I can do this, the thing that stuck out to me the most there out of the whole entire thing was when you're talking about, you know, a death of a relationship, what you had gone through with your husband right after you guys had gotten married, him out on tour, the impending transplant coming, and just the external factors that were just pulling you guys apart. And they, like, I know you just said it's like, do you want to talk about stuff? Do you want to be as open about this stuff? And the fact that you are, holy shit. The biggest thing that I took from that was the amount of love and the amount of caring that you have for one another, to the point where so many other people, and when it comes to relationships and marriage these days, it's like if one thing goes wrong, if you are faced with a challenge that just seems from the outset just insurmountable, you can't overcome it, how many people just throw in the fucking towel, just call it a day, and are potentially missing out on some of the best stuff that they've ever. I mean, if you got married, you fell in love with that person for a reason. There is something in there that you absolutely love that person more than anybody else in the world, and you said yes to that person for spending eternity with. Now all of a sudden, you have this one obstacle that comes through, and it's like, okay, it seems insurmountable. Okay, we have to call this off, and then there's just hate and just this nastiness inside your heart because you just refuse to try and overcome one thing. You guys went through so much shit. And that's what love and marriage, it's a work. You have to work at it consistently. There's going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. And there's going to be times where you wonder, wait, like, we are completely falling apart. Is it even worth trying to save? And you looked at it and said, fuck yeah, it's worth trying to save. We're going to work on this. I don't care what happens. Even with the death of a relationship like this, like, how do we salvage this? Not salvage, but how do we pick this back up? How do we put it all together? And how do we make it even better than it was before? By you talking about that in a song, by you putting it in a song, and by you describing that, what you went through. Holy shit, how motivational is that? Not only for you to continue saying, you know what? We got through all of that crap as a husband and wife. We got through the kidney transplants. We got through you being on tour and me being apart from, and just all this other crap. We got through COVID. We got through, hard times financially. We got through all this shit, and look at where we are now. And if you guys didn't get through that, where would you be? You probably would not be in the same point that you are now. You probably wouldn't be as happy as you are right now. And holy frick, I'm starting to word vomit right now. But it just speaks to the power that when you find someone that you love, just really making sure that you work at it. Love is gonna be a sacrifice. Love's gonna be a challenge. Love's gonna be a journey. You hear all that stuff. But the reason you hear it consistently because it is so true. And if you just give up on that, you might be giving up on the greatest thing ever. Again, you fell in love with that person for an absolute reason.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you give up on that just because some big obstacle came in your way? Instead of it's kind of like you're playing a video game and all of a sudden, it's like you're playing Mario and all of a sudden Bowser comes in. What are you going to do? Just be like, okay, I'm done, and just put down the controller and go, no, you're going to play some Super Mario 64. You're going to grab by the tip, you're going to spin him around, you're going to throw him in one of those bombs and go, and we're going to have a great time. And it's going to be fun, and you're going to feel accomplished by it because you got past the obstacle with that person. All the other things that you've talked about on the album, just kind of going through, there are so many other things that can potentially try and bring you down, try and basically, kill the love that you have, kill the motivation that you have, kill the drive, kill the fire inside you. You can get through those. It's not going to be easy, but when you come through on the other side,
I think I would have given up. I don't it's really funny, because the whole beginning of this album is 3 really energetic rock songs that are very much about self-empowerment and will and strength. And I really was going into the kidney transplant like that because I was I have to live because of what they did to me. And just really, I was very hurt. I was a very hurt person, but I used it to succeed and I got success. And so I really thought that was the formula. It was just so much will and strength and willpower. And I think God just really humbled me. And he's like, look, everything you have is because I've put you on this path. And if your calling is not about you, it's about other people. And, so I went through this, literally one of the songs called This Is Your Calling. It goes, pride in my eyes, strength at my side. God, I feel so alive, courage rising inside. And I really put it as I have dignity and pride that I've done all these worldly accomplishments that do not matter in his eyes at all. And I was just you know what? I really thought that was going to push me through until I came to this place where I was in a hospital bed with 103 fever, 104. And I was just kill me. I can't, and you're just in your human strength. What really can you do? You can't even control a fever in your body. So what makes you think you're that great? And I was just pushed to this point of giving up. I don't know if it was just a humbling or something, but I don't think I would have made it. I just really had no choice. And I thought about dying. That's why that music video, Die for Something, it's basically what would happen if I did die. If I chose to end my life because I was so overwhelmed with everything and so many problems that I couldn't overcome. I could die and my life would have been whatever, but what does that say about the opportunity of what it could have been? When you face head on, even if it kills you, at least you died for something instead of giving up, So that's really what that music video is about. It was this turning point in me that was you know what, dude, this disease very well could kill me. This transplant might reject. I might have to do this again and again, and maybe I'll never be fixed and I'm just going to die. But if I go out, I'm going to go out with saying something, man. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to do it to myself. I'm going to let it kill me. So yeah, it was this huge turning point, and it's actually strategically placed in the album right after all the songs that are about hopelessness and death, because it's the turning point of my mentality. So the album at the end, the title track literally talks about cast me aside and destroy this pride. If heaven hears, I'll come home tonight. And it's about finally and cast my pride aside. I don't even matter. I've found the truth of life. I've found who God is, and I'm willing to die for this love. So it's such a change in the album where like the beginning is like, I have to live for my own pride. And the end is like, kill me. I don't care. I surrender to this and I'm okay with it. So yeah, it's just this huge catharsis in order of songs that are chapters in my life.
It's an insane catharsis, but everyone who listens to the album and really dives deep into it is going to understand exactly what went through the past 4 years from, that constantly trying to find that will and motivation just from a human aspect to show everybody up to not die because, I got to get past it. I can do this. I can say something. And then to really understand, all the other trials and tribulations that you can't just will yourself through, that you have to work on with other people. You have to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to rely on not only the love for yourself, but the love for your husband, your love for God, everything around it. Rely on the love that you have with your family and just really kind of bring this into a point where you can understand where, the fullest of you is, to the point where at the end of the album, you're like, you know what? If I go today, I go today. But I made something happen for myself.
I'll try. I mean, it's just, I'll ask God to make something of this broken life that I had. I mean, just maybe he can do something with it. So, yeah, man, it's just a really 180, a huge 180 of like where I started and where I ended up, I really thought it was in my own power. And then like when you're writhing in a hospital bed and none of your family can see you because it's the pandemic and you're all alone and like, you are blazing with a fever and you just want to die because the fever hurts you so much. And it's like, it really brings you to your knees and makes you face your own mortality. And I was like, you know what? In the past, I've been like, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to meet God. Like, that's fine. But when it's there and you are literally in a hospital bed dying, you don't want to go out like that, man. Believe me, like it is suffering. It's really bad. And so I don't know. I just really, I don't know if I used to romanticize death or something, but like it's a peaceful thing, but it will be painful, I think. So I just gotta bide my time and be patient, and things will be not that great. And this is not our home, and this world is not perfect. But one day I'll be there, and I'm just gonna take my time and do what I have to do here on Earth, and just get through it.
I think maybe just like why some people romanticize death at that same point in time is just because you think about it, and if you're in pain, if you're suffering, if you're, depressed, whatever it might be, because I was at that point in time as well with depression where, maybe life didn't seem like it was worth living anymore, but the whole purpose was to get away from that mental state, to get away from that pain, get away from that fear, just get away from it all and not feel that anymore. But when it comes down to the time where it's, it's do or die time kind of thing, like, are you going to be able to get past it or not? And you're ready to, and you think you're ready to go. And then that moment is about to come and you're like, no, I'm not, because something else comes over you. Something else, like you said, being in a hospital bed by yourself, you don't want to go out like that. It's,
you don't. It's really painful.
Yeah. It's, you just kind of think about it. It's like, no, it's, when you think about the times when you felt like the happiest, think about the times when you felt the greatest about yourself. What did that feel like? Now, you're not going to get that feeling again unless you're still alive, unless you're actually working towards it, motivating yourself for something. And I know there's everyone has different motivating factors around what they want to go for. But again, with everything around Stronger Than Death, everything around Die for Something, everything around there, it speaks so much to the fact that, there are so many other things around us. Even it can be external, or it can be your family, it can be your friends, your spouse, your partner, God, whatever it is, there's going to be some sort of positive inspiration that you can draw from that is greater than just sheer willpower for you, that's going to get you to go take one more step, that's going to get you to hold on for one more minute, get you to hold on for one more day. And if you hold on for that extra little bit, all of a sudden, you get past the worst part and you might just, hit that little curve and start trajecting right back up. It might take a while, but then you get to the point where, maybe a year later, maybe 2 years later, maybe a couple months later, could be any time. But all of a sudden now you look and you think about where you are at that moment. You have this passion within yourself. You have this confidence within yourself. You have this love within yourself, with your partner, with your spouse, with your family, with your friends, with God. And you just feel this happiness and you just run with it.
And it's crazy you say that, because happiness is supposed to give you strength. And like literally, so I count like me and my husband got married 2018. I had my kidney transplant, like I said, about 8 months later, right? And that whole year, 2018 was a fantastic year for me. Like I one of the best years of my life, honestly. And like the week we got married, it was like rehearsal dinner, bachelorette party, just friends, loved ones, partying, so much joy in the air. Well, our honeymoon and wedding, we timed it around my first international show in Germany. So, like, we basically got a free trip to Germany, made money in Germany at a festival. My husband and I just hop on a plane to Italy for our honeymoon, like, right after we play. It just worked out extremely well. And I, like, remember just, like, the first night we were there, I had this huge bottle of Prosecco, and my gorgeous husband is next to me in my bed, and I'm looking in the mirror at the Airbnb 5 minutes away from the Coliseum, and I'm just laughing at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, girl, we did it, right? We got everything. And I'll never forget that moment because I brag about it because I needed that high after all the garbage I was going to experience for the next 4 years. Like, I needed to remember that to give me strength, you know, and like remember, like, and it got really hard to draw upon happy memories for a while because like it was just too overwhelming. You know, and I want to say it was my own will and strength, but like, to be honest, I had those happy memories and I knew why I was doing things mentally, even though in my heart I was really depressed. But like, I do believe it was like, I really only believe God got me through that because I think I would have given up. I do, like, that's how much I was pressed. Like, I felt like my back was against the wall in so many ways. So I do love those happy moments. I felt like they happened for a reason, to like have spiritual strength and know that life could be good, even though I wasn't going to experience it for a while. So, I mean, everyone's recovering, honestly. I don't want to like make myself, like my story seem like harder, because a lot of people have had it worse, like a lot. A lot of people died during COVID, so it's really tragic. But you know, I'm just doing my diligence and sharing my side. So I just hope that people are rebuilding after that, because that was quite a mess.
I honestly, I hope so. I hope so too. It like, because yeah, people. There's always gonna be someone that's gone through something maybe worse than you. But when it comes to stronger than death, it's something that we can all pick up on. It's something we can all relate to with those times where things were not going so well. Where again, maybe relationships were deteriorating. Maybe your mental state was here. Maybe just life was falling apart around you and you didn't feel like you could go on anymore. This is an album that's going to be that thing where you really take a look at, and we get to see life through, like, your journey through your eyes, through your emotions. And then we get to take those emotions, relate it to ourselves, and see how it gets to us, so we can get to that point where, you know what, we get to the other side of it. We get to the point where, you know, we feel like maybe if we're on borrowed time, that's fine, but we're going to make the most out of the time that we have here. We're not going to miss out on it. And I think the key throughout this whole entire thing, throughout this whole entire hour that we have been talking, it's when you are going deep into this, when you are going into the story, when you are going into all the inspiration behind this, there is just this certain level of energy and this certain level of emotion when you're talking about the stuff that's a little bit more emotional, stuff that's was really taxing, and the stuff that really potentially tried to break you. You know, there, you can tell it. I can kind of tell in your voice. There's a little bit of this like choked up feeling to it, where you can tell that this is still somewhat impactful, but you've taken a look at this, and then the energy when you look at the other side, it's just a little bit more amped up to the point where you can tell this is all for the positive aspect of it. It's not that these issues were, you know, a positive thing, but it's you've gotten past it to a point where now, as you stand or sit or in front of this camera right now, I should say, you take a look at where you are now versus where you were. You've come so far in terms of where you were in the music industry, how you've been treated, all what you went through with your husband, what you went through the kidney transplant, and every little aspect that was there, to the point where you are now, happy as all hell, fully in love, have that little townhouse with the 2 cats, and are just loving life every step of the way. It is something that is so inspirational, to the point where anyone that is going through some of those tough times can tell that, you know, people will go through those tough times, but when we get past them, we will still understand the emotions that come from them, but we will also understand that what we went through during those times is what has made us who we are today, and has made us even better off for it since we got past it.
So true. Like, I don't know, like I feel like each of the CDs I've made, like the albums I've made, are like just chapters of like growing into like womanhood, you know. Like my first recording that I gave to my band, my previous band, it was like I was like 19, 20, going through like a breakup for the first time, and like really understanding like how to, yeah, just experiencing that. And you can hear in my voice, it's so much more like juvenile. Like, I sound younger, like way younger. You know, it sounds like my voice hasn't even dropped yet. Like, I didn't know. I was like singing in a little box, like, And then like Red for War, which is my next album, was, you know, starting to go to these deeper tones and more maturity and like themes that were about betrayal. Like betrayal is such an insane spiritual lesson that you're gonna have to go through. Like that whole album is about betrayal essentially. And then, you know, Stronger Than Death is like such a different lesson, like so many different lessons about grief and loss and like death. And you know, so I really can't wait to see what comes out of my music in the next release. I really want to do like a metal EP, like going back to kind of my love of metal and roots. I did record a metal song that is going to be on the deluxe version of Stronger Than Death. So I'm really excited about that because I'm hoping it segues into kind of a new era for me later on musically. But I just feel like every CD, every album I make is just kind of a book of my life, and I hope people are interested enough to give it a chance.
I'll say from the fan perspective and from the now podcast perspective for about over 4 years now, I can say that whenever I've seen bands that have continued to just go through and focusing on, you know, what they want to talk about, focusing on what style they want to go with, and just being as open as they want to be, just letting the artist, again, kind of going back all the way to the beginning of this, letting the artist just do what they want, that's when great things happen. So just keep on that path, keep on that trajectory, keep doing what you think is right, keep going with the way that you want to go, because it has gotten you to this point. It has gotten you to this point of through all the craziness, all the crap, it's gotten you through all those trials and tribulations with positivity, happiness, and love to show for it. Keep going on that path. Keep going down it. Keep seeing what happens. And if you feel like going down a different path, take that path.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let the artist do the artist. Let the artist do the artistry or whatever it is. I was trying to come up with something cool there, but then I kind of butchered it.
No, you're kind of, no, I get what you're saying. Totally. I think you're right, man. It's just like, you know, when it's really unfortunate because I'm a Christian artist. So like a lot of people are like, well, how does that make sense? Are you doing this for profit? How can you call this something like, you know, a charity or ministry or whatever you want, you know? And I'm like, look, it's a very delicate balance you have to walk, you know, like, you know, there are bands that are definitely ruined by the commercial industry, like, you know, and it happened to my last band. We broke up because of the management team on us, pinned us all against each other, made it all about money, looks, and worldly things, you know, and so that's what killed it. That's what killed our band. So it is the beast coming in being like, no, do it for money, do it for that, you know, and you have to make money to do this because, you know, you can tell the quality of a recording when it's bad, like when it's not very expensive. You know, you can hear it's a cheap recording because they didn't use good gear, or they don't have a producer watching over the songwriting aspect. So it's like I have to make this a business in a sense too, because I need to put out quality art. You know, I'm not a painter who's gonna make a masterpiece with watercolors from the dollar store, man. Like I need good tools to do this. But you know, I still don't pay myself for music. I just put it back all in, and yeah, so everything is for that. But I'm very blessed to get to do this and to kind of just like be on this podcast and share my life with people, because that's what I think is valuable, is legacy. Okay, like what are you going to leave in the world after you die? Like what is your children going to know you as, you know? So I think to me that's just really what I try to focus on my life, and that's what Die for Something's about. Leave your mark, even though it's inevitable, you're going to die.
And through this podcast, through that album, through everything you've gone through, you've already left your mark. Let's just keep leaving more of it. Like let's just keep leaving more of it across the music industry, across the world, for people to pick up on it, learn from it, use it as their own motivation, understand what they've gone through in life, and find that, you know, happiness, find that love, find that passion, and go towards something so that they can leave their mark in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it.
Well, Zahna, we just went through like a whole entire hour of what I can only describe as insane, deep conversation that could gas up literally anybody to motivate them to get past whatever the hell might be in their way. And I don't know how else to describe it, but whoa.
Well, yeah, I'm glad in the beginning, I don't know if it was on air, but you were like, yeah, it wasn't, you know, it's kind of with these artists that it's a kind of new music to me. Like, you know, I hope they always turn out being really good. So I hope that's what this was, a good, interesting interview for you. And hopefully it segues you more into the album and gets you some context for where these songs were born from. So yeah.
Oh God, it definitely did. Again, when it comes to ours, it's like, maybe not fully in my realm. Again, some of the craziest conversations, some of the most intense conversations I ever have in this podcast come from those artists. I'm always happy to see what happens. And Zana, you may have set the bar for everybody else now, because I'm like I'm motivated, excited, but also just like blown away at so many different things that have come up in this podcast. Like, I might need a couple of days just to like really think about this one and be like, and just to take it all in, honestly. Like, I don't think this is like a podcast where you can't just listen to once. Like, you have to listen to this thing like 2 or 3 times to just like really take in everything.
Well, I'm really excited because we have to thank Cody. Cody Frayne is, for those who don't know, my publicist working with me right now, and he's the one that connected us. So thank you, Cody. Love you, bro. I mean, this is the first time I've had like a real team that just catered to me, not like a whole roster of a label. So I love Standout Agency. So shout out to those guys, Chris and Cody.
Cody, you the man. Chris, you the man. Zahna, you the woman. Yeah. I had to especially differentiate that. But Zahna, as we bring this podcast to a close, one thing I want to do is give you a chance to say whatever you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote the other podcast. So Zahna, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, guys, my name is Zahna. Thank you so much for listening this far. I'm really glad to have somewhat met you through a computer screen, but make sure to introduce yourself. Check my website out, zahnaofficial.com, ZAHNA official.com, and you can also pre-order physical copies or album bundles for my brand new album, Stronger Than Death, coming out February 10th, 2023. If not, you can find me anywhere on social media as well, or digitally on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere where music is sold or streamed. Zahnaofficial.com for all the usernames. Zahna Official. That's it.
Well, then now it's time for me to end this podcast with 3 very specific things. So first things first. Yes, Stronger Than Death coming out February 10th, 2023. It feels kind of so weird to say 2023, but we're doing it anyway now. On top of that, she literally just described to you where you can keep in contact with her on social media, where you can find the music, where you can buy the albums, where you can buy some merch and support her in every step of the way. Yeah, you're going to want to do that. But I know what you're not going to want to do is have to look all this stuff up yourself, and you're going to say, where is there a convenient way where we can just like find all the social media links, where we can find all the streaming links, where we can find the website, find the merch, where we can, follow the Patreon, everything like that. That's where I come in and say, go to the description of the podcast, which will be, if you're watching the video, down below. It's going to say, find Zahna online. Links will be there. There will be labels to each link. So all you have to do is click follow, click share, click subscribe. Click listen, click buy. All you got to do. I'm taking out all the research for it. I'm doing all the hard work. You got to do 2 clicks and that's it. Why wouldn't you do that? So it's right there. So go do it. Do it now. Yeah, no. Now it's time for my second thing. So whenever I'm guesting the podcast, I enjoy it in the podcast. I tend to make a certain promise as a 2-part thing. One is to say, thank you for being on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time. And secondly, I wish to continue to support the band in any way I can in the future. So everyone usually gets this because these conversations are a lot of fun. This is my favorite thing to do. This conversation went so incredibly I don't know what, mind blowing. I don't know what else to say. You absolutely hit on this. So this promise is not an if. Not an if. If implies this might not happen. And yeah, I don't like that. I say when, because when implies this is gonna happen. Date and time to be determined. And so when I can see you perform live for the first time, I'll even throw your husband in on this as well, because if he's drumming, you're up there. My promise to you is this, and it can always be altered depending upon, preferences or whatnot, but my promise is first round's on me. Now, if it's drinks, if it's, hell, I can buy a whole pizza too if I've done that before, because why the hell not? Whatever it is, whatever you want, first round's on me. Whether it's food, drinks, whatever it is.
Thank you so much. He'll love that. He loves pizza and drinks, so he'll definitely. But yeah, have him on your podcast. He has a lot to say too. He's got a new album coming out this year. He's got a couple of tracks if you guys want to check him out. That's Nesdom. Nesdom Music, I believe, is his username. But you'll have to have him on, Kevin. He's got so much to say, so hopefully that happens.
Oh my God, now I get another podcast guest and I get your husband. Already, we're doing this. We're segueing into that one. So get ready for part 2 with Nesdom. Oh yeah. So now it's time for me to say my third thing, which is, Zahna, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye. That is way too final, and I made that promise to you. Plus, I want to continue to support you in the future, and I'd love to have you as a guest once again on the podcast in the future. So can this be goodbye? Nah, too final. I got to end it by saying I'll see you later.
All right, I'll see you later. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you. Ooh, well, folks, I'm interview with Zahna. Once again, you can check out her brand new album, Stronger Than Death. It's out on February 10th. The single Die For Something featuring Nesdum, which is her husband, is available now for you to go check out, so you guys can really go deep into that. And when you need to follow Zahna online, you know, all the social media profiles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, follow her on YouTube. Follow her literally when it comes to tours. Find her on Patreon, become a patron to her. Buy some merch, pre-order the album, all that good stuff, and get ready to stream that stuff. And where you can stream the rest of her music, you want to know where it is, right? You want it all in one place, right? Description of the podcast under Find Zahna Online. Links and labels for everything is there. Also, make sure you're following along with the Chord Progression Podcast. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for your viewing pleasure. Please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or whatever audio stream you're listening on, whether it's Spotify, Podcast, iHeart Radio, Amazon, or literally anywhere else that you might be streaming this. Thank you, Britain Media, for helping us out with that. If you are subscribed already or you're subscribing right now, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're like, I don't want to subscribe, please reconsider. If not, you're always welcome back. Come back anytime. The door is always open. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Once again, remember, 20% off. Use the code CPP20 at checkoutfxfit.com. Thank you very much, Zahna. This podcast was... I'm going to go back and listen to one once again. There is so much in there when it comes to overcoming so many obstacles, overcoming so many roadblocks in life. It's just like, it's inspirational as all hell, but it's so real. It's so raw. It's so true that, I mean, you do not want to miss out on any of it, guys. So if you feel like you need to, go through it again. It's going to be there for you guys to really get into, and the album will be there for you guys to get into forever. So on that note, that's going to be for you guys. Thank you very much for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. So big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!